Hey Internet friends, are we facing the dawn of a new age? The first 2 weeks of 2025 have quite literally scorched the earth with intensity. Each day rushing past, bringing with it the fruit of a century, the fruit of a millennia, all leading up to right now. When I heard President Donald Trump joking about turning Canada into the 51st state, the Gulf of Mexico into the Gulf of America, and annexing Greenland, I knew I needed to make a video. After all, like Shakespeare wrote, what's past is prologue. And like the Bible says, to paraphrase, there ain't nothing new under the sun. So let's begin.
I intend to resign as party leader, as prime minister, after the party selects its next leader through a robust, nationwide, competitive process.
Why are we supporting a country 200 billion plus a year? Our military is at their disposal. All of these other things, they should be a state.
The world, the Panama Canal is a disgrace, what took place at the Panama Canal. Jimmy Carter gave it to them for $1. And they were supposed to treat us well. I thought it was a terrible thing to do. So the Panama Canal is under discussion with them right now. So we're going to be changing the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. Well, we need Greenland for national security purposes. I've been told that for a long time, long before I even ran. I mean, people have been talking about it for a long time.
In terms of concepts strongly associated with the past, there's a lot of territory to cover. No pun intended. The North American Union, the 10 Kingdoms of the Bible, the Club of Rome. But today I want to talk about the North American Technate, and even more specifically, Elon Musk's granddad, who was a leader of the technocracy movement in Canada from 1936 to 1941 before he left for South Africa. The technocracy movement became famous when its founders, a group of scientists and engineers headed by Howard Scott, made an energy survey of North America under the banner of Columbia University. The Technical Alliance, as it was first called, was basically documenting how wasteful the current capitalist system was back in 1919. But at this point, it's kind of difficult to nail down what they meant by the idea of technocracy as they moved forward, the group eventually splitting into two. Even in his book comparing socialists and technocrats, published in 1933, Paul Blanchard said that the meaning of the word technocracy shifts from day to day, but it can basically be boiled down to this core idea. Well into the industrial era, technocracy's founders believed capitalism would fizzle out as machines would soon replace men. And they set forth to design a society that would succeed capitalism when that collapse inevitably occurred. From these key points, we can ascertain that the technocracy was clearly anti-capitalist and anti-democratic. And it was also anti-government, but not really anti-government in a libertarian way. Its original founders believed in a radical form of social and economic equality while not identifying with Marxism. And given the context of the time, science and technology were changing the very fabric of North American society. And the technocracy believed that only highly trained experts and scientists were capable of leading a new North America into greatness. And I reckon that the hope of greatness and prosperity held a particular appeal during the depths of the Great Depression, when the technocrats of the 1930s maintained that they would be stewards of these machines in this industrial infrastructure instead of the greedy capitalists, the current masters of those machines. And if the technocrats were allowed to rule over the natural resources that North America had to offer, the average workday for an individual would exceed no more than 2 hours. That was the original pitch, at least. But basically, our society would sink or swim based on the technicians, their own elite class or echelon, being the controllers instead of the elected politicians. And that's the key idea here. That's the takeaway. No more elected politicians, just kind of like these self-proclaimed experts leading society. While money as an exchange is at the center of a capitalist system, at the center of the technocracy is energy. And published in a bunch of pamphlets and papers well into the 1940s. The Technocracy Incorporated was really good at seeding fear over a crumbling capitalist society, wherein the monetary system crumbled and stepping in as the savior would be energy accounting, or the means of tracking how much energy was used to produce things. rather than what we do now, which is measure the cost, the monetary cost of production. In the technocratic society, energy credits were deducted when you bought something, and the certificates were issued directly to the owner. So they couldn't be bought, sold, traded, or stolen. Nobody could collect more than anybody else. Trying not to inject my opinion or skepticism here. So the North American Technate is a concept that came out of the technocracy that refers to a blueprint for turning North America into a technocratic society, combining Canada's minerals and hydroelectric resources with the U.S.'s industrial infrastructure and farming strengths. This blueprint includes North and Central America, the Caribbean, parts of South America, and Greenland, that's important there, and Greenland, encompassing 30 countries and numerous other territories, and if it were implemented today, it would become the world's largest nation. Can you picture it? Stretching from the North Pole to the equator, and from the Caribbean to the international dateline in the Pacific. Also, if we're going to keep it modern for just a minute, controlling the whole Arctic doesn't hurt for a military advantage in World War III, just as an aside. It also doesn't hurt that Greenland has many untapped deposits of rare earth minerals to be used for electric vehicles and windmills. The Christian perspective on technocracy that was published in 1933, entitled The Technocrazy Old World, Technocracy in the Light of Prophecy, said that the technocracy was, quote, an exciting, fascinating, and disturbing idea put forth by a group of scientists and engineers. They tell us, in effect, if you hand over complete control of the business system to us, we will give every citizen a living wage for life, in return for 4 hours of work a day, 4 days a week, 10 months a year, between the ages of 25 and 45. In reality, the bait is on a hook, the probable surrender of personal liberty by the average man in order for that small group of scientists to receive absolute power over life and death over this nation, end quote. In a later chapter, the author writes, quote, while we are speaking of money, under technocracy, the present monetary system would be destroyed. This would mean that a great mass of people who have sacrificed to save something from the fruits of their labor, that they might be financially independent in their old age, would find themselves suddenly penniless, end quote. Elon Musk's maternal grandpa was born in Minnesota but moved to Canada and was a chiropractor and political activist. From 1936 to 1941, Joshua led Canada's technocracy movement, working to promote a technocratic society in which technology experts would run things instead of elected officials. In 1940, the Canadian government banned this movement, deeming it subversive because it outright opposed Canada's involvement in World War II. Elon Musk's grandpa was arrested for a short time but later proven not guilty. So after all of this, after the fall of the technocracy in Canada, he joined the Social Credit Party and ran for office in 1948, but he lost. History and current mass media publications call Elon Musk's grandpa an anti-Semite because the Social Credit Party published the Protocols of the Elders of Zion as a part of their political ideology. Hildman moved to South Africa in 1950 and continued to work as a chiropractor there. And this is really weird, but for 10 years it says that the Hildman family spent time roaming around the Kalahari Desert in search of its fabled lost city of the Kalahari, flying back and forth in their little plane. In 1971, Hildman's daughter May gave birth to his first grandson. The boy's name was Elon Musk. 3 years later, Joshua Hildman died in a plane crash. At the World Government Summit in Dubai in 2017, Elon Musk expressed his support for a guaranteed basic income. He warned that mass unemployment will be a massive social challenge, pretty much echoing the words that his grandfather likely uttered many times just decades before. And then Elon Musk also warned at the summit there will be fewer and fewer jobs that a robot cannot do better. With automation will come abundance. Elon Musk is historically a South African turned Silicon Valley Democrat investor, said to be one of the publicly richest men in the world. And he's since purchased what he calls a free speech platform, X, formerly known as Twitter, and aligned himself with President Donald Trump after Trump's assassination attempt in Pennsylvania in 2024. And Musk's influence over Trump and Trump policy has earned him the title President Musk. And he's even heading up a new department of government called the Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE. Musk is a cultural force who shapes public perception and policy every single day. And due to this expertise, we're going to call it expertise, and influence, rather than being an elected official, he was appointed as head of DOGE. And really, this whole image that Musk is painting recently as he's a recent Republican, at its core, government is too slow and inefficient. He believes that the government should be comprised of experts and none of the waste. Which sounds really good on paper, right? But when is expanding the roles of government ever good? Technocracy's focus on engineers, experts, and scientists was rooted in the conviction that there was a technological fix to almost all of society's problems that couldn't be solved with elected officials because they simply weren't the experts. Now, with the emergence of AI and robots, which is the new boogeyman in Silicon Valley, it seems that there's a new band of leaders looking to answer how government should react when huge numbers of people just up and lose their employment to automation. And how can a constitutional republic, with all of its flaws, work effectively in a world where science and technology dominate? It appears that expanding the borders, essentially globalism, rebranded and cheered on by followers of the right and conservatism, by the way, is one answer. And I need to say this, it's not like I'm painting these ideas in a negative or a positive light. This is not me trying to vilify ideas and concepts or even push them. I'm just trying to be as objective as a person can be. It's just that I tried not to insert my opinion in this if this is happening behind the scenes, what I just talked about, the subtext or context of the events playing out on the world stage. I think you and me, we should have a say, and this discussion should be held out in the open, not happening behind closed doors. And in order to have a say, in order to have an opinion, in order to give your consent or rescind your consent, you have to, have an understanding of what was and what will be should this move forward. Though I can hear your keyboards right now, and I'll certainly get some comments wondering where the coverage of Elon Musk's mother posing with the one eye and all this crazy stuff, and Elon Musk dressing up in the New World Order garb, tweeting about the New World Order after Trump won the election, setting his little profile picture to this outfit called the Devil's Champion a couple of years ago. I'll certainly get questions asking why I didn't cover that, or why I didn't cover how Wernher von Braun wrote this book and predicted a man named Elon would colonize Mars. The predictive programming around Elon Musk and his family nearly rivals Trump. Nearly, with Ingersoll Lockwood's writings predicting the last president of the United States and writing children's books about the adventures of little Baron Trump back in the late 1800s, with all these weird parallels to the Trump family and presidency. A work of fiction, which I've covered couple times on this channel. Even though in real life, Trump's uncle, John Trump, was one of the few people who had access to Nikola Tesla's laboratory. And now Elon Musk runs a company called Tesla, and Trump and Elon have teamed up. And this all makes truth and reality much stranger than any fiction ever written. I'm happy to point it out, and I'm happy to talk about it. But for the purposes of this video, all that conspiracy 101 stuff, there's too much left to interpretation. Even though I personally interpret it a certain way, and I'm sure you do too. But the technocracy and their plans, they were all spelled out long ago, plainly and published. And just like the Tears for Fear song says, everybody wants to rule the world. So what do you think, internet friends? Let me know. I always look forward to your comments. Just a little light video today, nothing too heavy, just keeping it lighthearted with the core concepts of the technocracy and the Technate and what it means to acquire the Panama Canal to Greenland, Canada, and the Gulf of America. Just very lighthearted, actually, especially for this channel. Thank you so much for watching, subscribing, supporting my channel on Patreon, and buying my book, The Deep State Encyclopedia. Bye.